Hey guys, how's it going today? cryptoFOXXY here. Thank you guys so much for stopping by the channel. So in this video, this live stream actually, I want to talk to you guys about the new integration of Kudos with fetch.ai and the ASI Alliance. We're going to actually listen into a X space and just kind of get to know this new project and let them tell us what this integration is going to include. So I'm not going to do a whole lot of commentating because it's a little bit hard to talk over. I don't want to take away from the X space. So we're just going to jump over there and we're going to listen in. Let me know if you guys have any issues hearing anything. I did test this beforehand. Hey guys, how's it going? I see Woodwork. I see Geskin. Thank you guys so much for stopping in. So we're going to listen over into the X space, just kind of try and get an idea of what this all entails in terms of this integration into the Alliance. So we're going to go ahead and listen in here. So let me know if you guys have any issues hearing, and I will do my best to fix it up for you guys.
Community, as well as to follow up with an introduction to Kudos.
Great, thanks. Hi, everyone. Good to speak to you all. Yeah, I'll give you a background of what we've been working on and where we've come from. So Kudos and the founding team from Kudos. Originally, we founded a data center and cloud company back in the early 2000s, and that actually became a large provider. We were in about 50 data centers around the world. We built data centers, we built fiber networks, we built cloud platforms. We provided about 2% of the UK's internet infrastructure. So we were a kind of an early version of distributed cloud, if you think of it like that. Across all these locations. And when we were running that business, we saw a few different things. One of them was huge amounts of unused and wasted compute in the data centers that we were in. And then also a lot of these data centers were running in oil or coal powered locations. And what we wanted to do was to improve that industry, because if you think from the consumption of electricity, about 3-4% of the world's carbon emissions are coming from the data center industry. And because of AI, that is predicted to go up to 10% by the end of the decade, or beyond 10% at the end of the decade. So we wanted to be able to build a platform and a network that was going to enable people to consume more efficiently computing resources that were available around the world. But also what we have is that all providers are also running in renewable energy locations or sustainable locations, typically hydro, solar, wind, it can be any of those types of infrastructure. And we decided we were going to build a platform that was going to enable anyone to become a computing provider. And really that gives the chance of anyone to be able to compete with the large hyperscalers like Amazon, Google, Microsoft, by aggregating all of that computing capacity globally. And really that was our vision. It was to democratize access to computing, to make computing more sustainable, and really make it more accessible from anyone to become a seller on the network or anyone to become a buyer on the network. And really that's what we've done and we've achieved.
Thank you for that introduction, Matt. And if you don't mind me asking a few follow-up questions, you've had about 5 years of development, and you also have a native network, a token, and a kind of growing tech stack. Would you care to share a little bit more about the broader Kudos project, beyond simply decentralized compute, the entire tech stack that you have?
Yes, sure. So initially, we actually focused on trying to build out capacity on unused PCs and machines at home. So we built an earlier version of a software called Kudos, and the idea was that to use that unused computing. We had nearly 1 million users on that platform. It was one of the second most popular software platforms in the market. But when we started talking to companies about using and developers using the computing capacity on the network, pretty much everybody was wanting to run inside a data center. And the reason is because that's more secure, it's more reliable, it scales better, and really, we were coming up with lots of different objections. So what we actually did is we took a bit of a pivot from a technology stack and then focused on building a data center version of our platform. And the idea was that anyone could then become a provider in a data center. So what we actually built it's a federated cloud platform connected onto the Kudos compute network, and that is based on Cosmos SDK. That's kind of a technology stack, enabling anyone to build and buy computing capacity on the network. So our software means that anyone that's a provider can actually install the entire software stack, and it automatically makes them a cloud provider. So it does network orchestration, does provisioning, does storage management, does IP management, connects it to enable them to do billing. And literally it is an entire software stack that you need to run a cloud company. And then that enabled us to scale that with different cloud providers all around the world that run our software stack. And they use that sometimes purely. We're the only software stack that they use. And they run that and they make those resources available into the Kudos network. Or they might be a cloud provider and then they take some of their allocation and they run our stack on that and make those resources available. But really what that's done is meant that the Kudos infrastructure is really high quality, incredibly high uptime, high quality infrastructure run by lots of different providers all around the world. So there's no point trying to deploy these applications on a device we realize that might be there 1 minute and might not be there the next minute.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. The pivot from edge computing into a more data-centric approach, I think, makes a lot of sense. And the ability to turn anyone into a mini version of AWS is certainly a potent use case. And speaking of use cases, I'd love to shift the focus towards Hermione. Hermione, I'd love to ask from a tokenomics perspective, we see that tokenomics and decentralized models are becoming increasingly interwoven. With the inclusion of Kudos into the ASI Alliance tokenomics, how do you see the token utility and incentives evolving? And how do we see that token-based value capture accrual into the ecosystem?
Yeah, just to kind of give you a little bit more background to that question, perhaps. I mean, when we started this whole process of this alliance, we kind of laid out this vision that what we need to do is we need to build a stack which can actually compete with centralized entities, at least have a chance of being a viable alternative to that. Now, what that means is we obviously, as 3 projects, we were building some part of that infrastructure. We didn't have the full stack, which we, of course, either needed to find partners or we needed to build ourselves. So, we took the approach that we go out and speak to projects who are delivering the quality a central entity could deliver and doing it in a decentralized way. So Kudos, I think, fits that narrative beautifully. I think the quality of deployments, the quality of products, the quality of professionalism of the team really fits in well. And I'm really glad that that the team is kind of agreed. Of course, there is a vote to be had. The community needs to buy into it. So that's the background. But coming back to your tokenomics question, what kind of tokenomics are we looking at? So one, the utility of the token. Now, as we said before, the whole idea of having these exchanges between tokens when you're building 2 services which are using 1 or 2 or 3 different protocols it's a difficult thing to do. This is an extra burden on developers, which developers don't want. We have seen that in crypto space many times. People don't even want to do wallet-based integrations because they're too much hard work, right? So we need to give people the ability to do things just like centralized entity would do. So you go in, you click the buttons, and you deploy a solution, you do the whole integrated stack. So now if you imagine that 1 token is going to run through the whole stack, it doesn't matter which part of the stack you use, you can click, turn it on, turn it off. That, of course, increases the token utility as many folds as the projects join. So or the tech stack is. So if your compute has its own token utility, agent-based framework has its own utility, data services have their own utility. all the machine learning algorithms and AGI and ASI, they all will have their own huge token utilities, which now if you put together, it's fourfold. But this is current. We will improve the tech stack further, and there will be more utility.
Mic check. I'm just getting confirmation if we can hear him. His feed cut off on my end.
Yes, cut off.
All right, and Hermione, you seem to have cut off. It might be a connectivity issue. Hopefully you can hear us. If you can.
Can you hear
we
me?
can hear you now, but you cut off for a solid 30 seconds there. So I'd love to hear.
I was saying that if you put all the token utilities together for different projects, then your utility increases exponentially as compared to a single project.
Thank you. Thank you, and I agree. I agree that having multiple tokens representing multiple various utilities and layers of the tech stack is an additional burden. And so there's certainly sense in harmonizing the technology and harmonizing under a unified token as well. It also brings an incredible strength in these additive benefits to the token and the entire ecosystem. I see that Ben has joined us as well. Ben, welcome. It's always a pleasure to have you here. I'd love to throw a question your end if you'd love to hear it. And so hopefully you'd love to, and have a welcome. I'd love to ask, how does SingularityNET's research, particularly OpenCall Hyperion, benefit from Kudos' decentralized compute infrastructure? In your opinion, how do we?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of complex things about building AGI and applying it, but in this case, the story is actually very, very simple, right? I mean, from a very crude point of view, what do you need to do to build an AGI, a thinking machine? I mean, you need the right algorithms and architecture. You need to teach it and instruct it the right way, embodying it in the right environments. You need the right data to feed it. And you need compute hardware for it to run on, right? So, I mean, you need, and it's, the algorithms, the experience, the data, and the hardware. And obviously, what we're pursuing in ASI Alliance and what SNet, Fetch, and Ocean have been pursuing together for a long time is how to provide the hardware and then the data, which has been a particular focus of Ocean, how to provide this in a decentralized manner, right? Rather than the sort of centralized server farm approach that big tech is working on. So as folks have been following ASI Alliance would have seen, have been working together to build some high-powered server facilities with a whole bunch of GPUs and CPUs in the same location, tightly networked together. And this is not the whole solution to providing infrastructure for AGI. I mean, we have software that can make use of widely distributed and heterogeneous collection of processors on people's laptops, on small companies' networks, and different hosting facilities around the world, even processors on people's phones, right? But as part of this heterogeneous mix of processing capability, it's valuable to have some collection of high-powered supercomputing in the data center facilities as major nodes in this decentralized network, right? So Fetch and SNet are building server facilities to put into our decentralized networks. But as we looked into this and what's involved, we started to talk to experts in the area of hardware provisioning for scalable AI compute. And, the Kudos guys seem to really know what they're doing, and they've been offering AI services to a variety of customers through a platform which is designed from the ground up for decentralization. So I mean, we can put some of our AI compute on the Kudos network right away. We can also integrate what Kudos is doing with, say, the deployment mechanisms in NewNet, a SingularityNET spinoff, and Hypercycle, a SingularityNET joint venture. So there's both ways that we can use Kudos right away as part of the hardware infra for OpenCog Hyperon and our Knowledge Graph meets LLM initiative. And there's also deeper software integration we can do to sort of deepen the decentralization within the Kudos infrastructure. So yeah, I'm quite psyched about this. And of course, we were planning to collaborate with Kudos anyway, just on a partnership basis, and using their network, of course, anyone can do very easily, which is the amazing thing about it, right? We don't need to do a tokenomic merger to use Kudos. But when we talk about how can we integrate Kudos with NewNet and Hypercycle to optimally serve ASI Alliance agents, I mean, that's an example of the sort of thing that's more likely to actually happen in the context of this tokenomic merger, because you have fully aligned incentives across Kudos and the ASI Alliance team. So yeah, I think I mean, if you look what big tech is doing, they've got their hardware provisioning deeply integrated with their AI systems and their deployment infrastructure and so on. If we want to defeat big tech in the AGI race, we need to work on fully integrating all these different layers of the stack, and that's what we're working on now with the Kudos team, which is being a lot of fun and going quite quickly so far.
So thank you for that comprehensive answer, and I do agree that intertwining both centralized and decentralized solutions is in everyone's best interest, and it's obvious to me that bringing Kudos into the ecosystem harmonizes well with the existing 100 million investment in compute that fetch.ai has, and the 53 million investment in compute that SNET have. I'd love to ask, Matt, decentralized computing brings both cost and performance benefits. Can you provide examples of how Kudos compute solutions are benefiting developers and enterprises?
Yes, so I mean, for developers, there's all different types of developers in this space. You've got people that are taking LLMs where, it might be something like Llama 3.1, and they might be fine tuning it where they're taking a particular data set and fine tuning on that infrastructure. We are seeing a lot of companies like that, especially in the startup space. There's lots of companies that have raised anything up to $10 million, which are trying to deploy really, really quickly. They're taking off-the-shelf models, fine-tuning those models to whatever their use case is, and then putting that out into the market as a product. A network like this enables them to do that really cost-effectively. So if you think if a company's raised 10 million, typically somewhere between 50 to 75% of their budget is going on GPU as a service for infrastructure in these businesses that are integrating AI as part of their service. So every kind of dollar that they can save on that capacity makes a huge difference. And we've got multiple clients that we're working with for onboarding where they're kind of up to 1,000 GPUs at a time. And for them, those cost differences can make the difference of having 24 months runway or 36 months runway. So that price saving is very significant in working with them. And then it's also about what they typically want to do is they'll want to provide fixed infrastructure. So they'll, let's say you want 100 GPUs and you're constantly using them for inference, and then you want to be able to scale up and down on demand on the platform as you require additional computing capacity. And that's really what the platform enables from both perspectives. And as we've been talking here, what we can do is we have one native token, which means people can pay with that native token, and then also they can integrate the full tech stack without having to go off to any third party. It's just going to be one full integration. But we've kind of focused on both sides. We've got one side where we have two interfaces on our network, where one is based on your traditional cloud computing buyers, and they look for being able to get invoices and bill-in records and everything else that you would have as an enterprise. And then we've got the pure token side, where everything is done via the token, consumed by a smart contract or via GUI, and then you roll out your computing resources. But the types of clients that we've got is a really wide spread for enterprises. We've got clients that are probably consuming. We've got one at the moment that's a few thousand GPUs per month, and they're using it for pharma. Well, it's a mixture of banking and pharma. So that is usually long-term consumption of computing resources, and they're really the types of clients that we want to be able to get onto these networks, because that means they're going to continue to use those resources. They're not just going to burst up quickly and use them for training and then get rid of them. What they often do is they'll use them for training, then they'll use them for fine tuning, then they'll use them for inference, and you've got kind of a whole product life cycle. Because once you start using these resources, if you're then going to turn it into a service, you need to use those resources up and down. And the way the logistics work, I guess, is that when you're training, you've usually got a fixed amount of compute and you're trained with that compute. When you turn it into inference, which is the second stage, then the number of users means you need to double the number of GPUs typically, and that needs to scale. So that's one of the areas that we're really focused on. And the advantage here that we're talking about is if we're bringing in compute from the Singularity network and from the Fetch network that we can add to these resources, it means that we can get greater utility and fill that capacity faster, which means we can then keep on expanding those resources as well.
There's actually a dual benefit to be had there in cases where the SI Alliance is focusing on research and compute is less prioritized. We can still have that and offer it across a growing decentralized marketplace. But in cases where compute is becoming a bottleneck, we need to pull more compute. We can then use your network in pulling compute from there. In both cases, the alliance grows incredibly resilient, not to mention the fact that we essentially mitigate silicon-based supply chain constraints, which are a bit of a point of contention on and off. Sovereign compute is essential, and I'd love to touch on that topic. Hamayan, I'd love to ask you, you've mentioned that integrating token utilities brings forward this exponential effect. But I'd love to ask, integrating these software stacks brings together a full stack. This is quite rare to see in the Web3 space. And I'm curious, now that potentially Kudos is on the doorstep of ASI, once they're in, do you believe that we shall be in a position where developers and enterprises can both choose this tech stack because it's more productive for them as opposed to an AWS or a Google solution? So are we going to be competitive, or at least much more competitive with Kudos?
Well, yes. I mean, again, you have to provide some kind of USP. We have, we say decentralization as one of our very strong points, but I'm just going to park decentralization a little bit on the side, because I think we do talk a lot about decentralization. But what I'm going to give you an example, right? So let's say I want to build a app-based solution which runs on agents, because app development is changing. It's going to need LLMs, it's going to need agents, and it's going to need machine learning models and trainings. And so I need all these 3 or 4 components. So when I go to a centralized space, I go and I say, okay, I'm going to use LangChain, for example, for something. I'm going to go and deploy my agents on Fetch, because there is no other kind of search and discoverable Fetch network or agent network. So I'm going to deploy that on Fetch. So I'm going to pay, with a credit card in one place, and I'm going to write some code to integrate that with the agents. but the agents are going to need machine learning models. So I'm going to go to Hugging Face and I'm going to deploy some Hugging Face models there, which is going to deploy it on either Google Cloud or Amazon. So I'm now connected to them. Then I'm going to actually build the infra serving compute, which I'm going to use some other service for. And then I'm going to kind of put them all together and I'm going to run them. And then of course, I'm paying in all of these different places with different cards, with different things. Now change that scenario to one place where you can actually go and you can choose what you want to deploy. You can deploy the compute when you want to deploy it. You can deploy the agents on the same stack. You can actually deploy machine learning models and you can run them on the compute straight away. So you don't have to do all these jumping off the hoops to get there. So then you have something which has a true functional utility in reducing your time you spend just creating these DevOps and all the components and combining them and integrating them, and keeping a record of all the billing and everything. So if you look at it that way, then you suddenly see, and on top of that, you have this decentralization element where the centralized entities can't look at your data, you can't actually play with your machine learning models. So you start seeing that utility. And just to your point, I mean, does it provide us a USP? For sure, because now you are actually saying, I have something special. I can reduce your time of deployment. But on top of that, it's all integrated. Now, the next question is, with Kudos coming in, to what extent does that kind of help us? So it's a great help because now we have the compute infrastructure which we can deploy. We still need to build some more software to integrate all these components. We need to give a user interface which is going to enable you to access all these services in one place. So all these things is where we are progressing. So we look for a solution, what our tech stack needs. We look at if we can't find any other partner who can develop with us, then we want to develop it because time is of the essence. We need to do this faster and faster. If you look around, you have all these components which exist individually and they're valued individually and they operate individually. But what we are putting here is quite an interesting perspective of, they are individual, yet they are combined. So I think hopefully that answers your question in terms of where we see our USP.
It perfectly does. Reducing the time to market for developers is actually incredibly important. Giving them the ability to select which part of the tech stack they want to use, giving them the ability to manage resources at a very granular level is massive, both in terms of customization and in terms of resource management. I'd love to ask, what do you think are the main industries that would be impacted? Where do you think the tech kind of permeating first?
Well, we've seen a lot of demand from gaming. I think we've announced a gaming partnership recently, and we are seeing a lot of traction in automotive sector. Because if you look at edge infrastructure, which is coming in terms of automotive, in terms of infrastructure communication, in terms of, but not just that, but also the data that is going to come in from that. And just as a very interesting point, I'd like Matt to take you through it. The cost of deploying in a centralized place, the GPU cost is one thing, but also just data movement costs you a lot. And I think Matt can shed some light on that and how we're going to reduce it. But the point is that we're seeing traction because AI is real. This is not a hype which we think might or might not come. This is here. This is real. It's just how quickly we get there and how do we compare with other products in the market.
Yeah, I think in terms of which verticals are most appealing, this is an area where the diversity of the various partners in the alliance is a big plus because Humayun has been doing amazing stuff in automotive industry and other partnerships with large industries out of out of Europe. And on SingularityNET side, we've been working a lot with the biomedical domain in gaming as well, and talking to a bunch of folks about DeFi and traditional finance. And I mean, the truth is that these tools are needed by essentially every vertical market now. I mean, every CEO of any sizable company is executing on some AI strategy, and a lot of them are even thinking about their AGI strategy now, because they can see what's coming. So I mean, it's a very general need that we're addressing, and it's great that different parties within the alliance have already real inroads, and in many cases existing commercial projects with users and customers in specific domains. And as Humayun says, there's an aspect of additional capability we can offer, because we have AI tools like OpenCog Hyperon, which was mentioned, that big tech doesn't offer. But there's also a significant aspect of cost optimization. I mean, AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, I mean, they offer in some ways a great service. They charge quite a premium if you just look at the hardware firepower than the actual services that you're getting for what you pay, right? So I mean, we can offer a much more economical solution because of decentralization, and also just because of the way we've set up the software, right? As well as in many cases offering additional AI capabilities that the APIs on Azure and AWS and so on don't provide. So I mean, I think there's a lot of upside we can offer to customers, and the addition of Kudos just lets us offer a more complete solution than what we've been doing, say, at least in SingularityNET. We can say not only do we have better AI and better connectivity software and protocols, you can now host the AI that you need on our network, right? And we can handle the hosting in a super easy to use and low cost way.
I think to add to Humayun's point around the storage, it's if you're doing anything in the AI space, you need it's sourced from a data set at least. It might be that you're using a model, but if you're going to be doing any custom information with that, you've got to store that data anywhere. And also with agents, where if you had to have agents buying other resources of other agents or other services, then that means that they're going to have to start sharing data. And you've got communication data, but then you've got actual real back-end data where you may need to make transactions on that data, or you may need to design, or in AI it's called RAG, where you read all of the data and then you can respond based on the data that's in there. Then that can become very expensive on hyperscale providers to keep transferring that data between one agent and another agent, or another hyperscaler and another hyperscaler, because it's free to put data on, but it's expensive to take data off. Whereas none of the providers on the Kudos network charge for data ingress or egress, so going in or going out, which kind of really gives you the flexibility to build these AI applications and agents to your kind of heart's content, because you've reduced the cost of compute, you've removed the cost of bandwidth and data transfer, and you've massively reduced the cost of storing that data in the first place. So, with the things like the Singularity Marketplace, where it means you can massively reduce the cost of putting applications on there that people are going to use and consume. So it kind of just opens it up for developers to be a lot more creative. If we can provide all of the tooling that we've got in the ASI community, and then lower that cost of compute, that's really what we're excited about as well.
And I think that's just to kind of round it off. Just by putting all these components together, it unlocks the value. Alone, the value is not as much. because you're then competing with others on the similar kind of space. I mean, a very good example, is there are other compute providers in the market. I mean, like I think that others like Akash is valued at like 1.3 billion at the moment, market cap, stuff like that. But if you think about it, I think Matt can shed some light on the numbers. But if you think about bringing a in-house solution, the value it unlocks, because we already have the utility for that solution, even within our ecosystem, and much better integrated tools which can actually be easy to deploy. That adds huge value to our combined ecosystem. It adds huge utility to our token. It adds huge value to the token itself. So I think that is quite an important point I want to make, which is combined, it is much more powerful and much more valuable.
And
Thank you.
one of the most.
Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I was going to say one of the most valuable points in a blockchain and a tech stack is its utilization. At the end of the day, that there's a lot of great tech out there, but they don't have the utility. Whereas by combining this together, we've already up there. Kudos was already one of the highest from a utilization perspective from deep in. With this and some of the other clients that are going live in the integration side, and the utilization is over 90% AI, and that's scaling really quickly. Then that's going to put it number one, or should do in theory, from a utilization perspective. For deep in infrastructure mixed with the tech stack of ASI, because all of a sudden we've got the ability on both sides to consume and use a lot more of that capability between us.
So even if we with the current numbers, even if you take the value, what the Kudos is fully diluted value, and you put it in a place where you can see the utility is kind of added to that that whole tech stack, you suddenly see what the value of the project could be as a combined. So you could easily add like $1 billion worth of value to the alliance just by bringing the right utilization to the tech stack.
There's also a point I'd love to make and extend your answers. On the one hand, distributed compute, storage, and broadly speaking, kind of bare metal is used by the ASI core team, right? So we can use these resources. But a lot of the tech stacks and a lot of the software that we make is open source, which means that community members and developers can use this as well. So beyond being decentralized, we don't really foster technological lock-in, which is a pattern you see across all major kind of centralized providers, wherein once they capture you as a client, there's these soft incentives that you stay their client, but that the costs rise as well. And Matt pointed out the RAG example is actually quite specific. So just for anyone who doesn't know, retrieval augmented generation is just the process of optimizing the output of large language models, right, putting it simply. But there's a lot of edge cases where that becomes incredibly expensive because there's a lot of data to be pulled that's not that is outside of the training data of the original set. And so having lower compute effectively, having lower costs of compute translates kind of not additively, but exponentially to the output of models, right? So that's one. And to Humayun's point, agents themselves would work better with AI architectures that are kind of less non-deterministic, so more deterministic. And both agents and models need compute, right? And so the harmony between all of the projects is incredible. And I think that being together is not only a move towards sustainability, but a move towards much more impactful demand dynamics. And so I'd love to ask Ben a question from a scientific perspective. Ben, we've had compute as a bottleneck for a while now, and given that we're working towards AGI, or at least pushing past narrow AI, I'd love to ask, do you think that we can reach a point where we simply do not have enough compute to actually have models that are capable of generalizing across domains?
I think that it's hard to estimate how much kind of compute we will need for AGI right now. The situation is a little, and what kinds of compute? Because I think that large language models like GPT-4s and llamas of the world clearly are incredibly wasteful. I mean, they're just storing so much particular data for ready access because they're not capable of abstraction. So as we move toward OpenCog Hyperon and other AI approaches that are capable of abstracting knowledge rather than just storing a huge catalog of particular things, I mean, that decreases model size, it decreases the resource utilization needed to answer many kinds of queries. On the other hand, as you try to move towards systems that are more fundamentally creative and innovative than LLMs are in arts, sciences, and all around, I mean, then you need a certain amount of redundancy for evolutionary dynamics, right? Because being creative involves trying a whole lot of different things in parallel, seeing which ones work, varying on them, trying again. So I think you will move from needing a lot of resources in one place for building one huge data table of your experience to needing a lot of resources for sort of parallel, varied, evolutionary, evolving copies of more compact models. And this is very interesting in terms of a decentralized compute infrastructure, right? So I think we'll continue to need a lot of resources, but as we move from these monolithic models to more evolving creative systems, it'll be more resources of a heterogeneous, loosely coupled nature. And so it's going to be interesting to see exactly how it evolves. But I mean, there's no doubt that as AI gets smarter and smarter, it's going to want more and more resources of various kinds, which has been the whole trajectory of human civilization, right? But I'd say you can't extrapolate the exact curve and exact type of resource utilization that LLMs have into the future, because I mean these precise algorithms are not in the end going to be what gives us AGI, right?
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Ben. And Matt, I'd love to ask, you've been working in the tech stack, you've been working in the kind of distributed compute realm for about 5 years. And I'd love to, now that you're kind of approaching the merger with the token merger with the ASI Alliance, what are the most impactful innovations that you think would would greatly contribute and benefit the ecosystem as a whole over the next 1 or 2 years?
I would say, firstly, it is access to the full stack of compute, because depending on, let's say if you're doing inference, you probably need less access. You can run that on a virtual machine, you can run it in a container, but if you're doing training, then you need the highest performance computing. And in this tech stack, with ASI, you really want to be able to do both. You want to be able to train any of the models that you want, doing any of the fine tuning, and then turn it into the applications for people to consume. And then you need the inference. So we've got bare metal, which is short terms even coming out this month, or in its early stages. So I'd say full scale next month. Plus, you need the access from a training perspective to hold a lot of data. So we've got kind of native S3 support, which is kind of the standard that Amazon started out with for large amounts of storage. Just to give you an idea, a 1,000 GPU cluster that that you're going to do training on needs somewhere between 1 to 5 petabytes of storage, depending on what you're doing on there. So you need long-term storage, and then you need fast storage while you're actually doing that work. So storage is going to become a bigger and bigger thing as you build more and more complicated models. And you'll have seen, with Llama and the others, you're going from, it depends which model you're using, but you might have like 8B, you might have 70B, which is billion parameters. You're going up to over 400B. So these use larger and larger amounts of memory, and larger amounts of data needs to be stored. And one of the reasons is because when you're training on a cluster, the likelihood of something going wrong increases more and more the bigger the cluster is. So you need to record checkpoints, and you'll typically record them at least once an hour, a checkpoint of all your data. And that's just huge amounts of data that you want to record. So that's a big part, is scaling out of additional storage. It's supported on the Kudos technology, but also integrated with storage. So you can scale out third-party storage. We are working on integrating with NewNet as well. So NewNet provides the containerization layer. So it means that people don't have to buy just virtual machines. They can buy containers, and they can run those computing workloads, and we can distribute those computing workloads across all of the hosts on the network. So we're working with NewNet on there. And I think as we then start to build out those applications, that we would aim that we then start to get those into the marketplaces that are on ASI. So not only can people build these full stack applications, in one token, in one tech stack, then you can publish those online for people to be able to consume them and use them. I do think one of the things that's maybe going to change significantly in coding over the next 12, maybe 24 months is that, your IP at the moment, if you're developing something, could be your data, could be your coding. I think what's going to become more and more the case is that your IP is actually going to be your prompts. So it might not be that you're a coder, but you've got a dream, you've got an idea, and as models get more intelligent, and they are getting, we're probably 80-90% there of what's needed at the moment, it means that you can literally just talk or write what you want your application to do, and that prompt will be your code. And then it will use we're on Llama 3.1, but let's say we're on Llama 4, that might be 95% reliable on the coding side. And you'll literally just be able to say what you want these applications to do. And on the back end, that'll be running on AI models. And I think that's just going to be a complete change from how developing applications has been since, the 60s and 70s, when it went digital and people were probably started coding applications. All of a sudden you can write what you want rather than having to code what you want. And I think that's really going to be a big global change, that with this tech stack together, we're going to be able to accelerate that.
That's actually a perfect example. As we continue to decrease the cost of intelligence and increase people's capabilities, it becomes more and more likely that compute will become more of a bottleneck. And I'd look to kind of resonate with Hamayan's point, which is that as we integrate the tech stack, we become a much more viable, unified ecosystem that presents genuine kind of productivity gains, both to small and medium-sized enterprises, as well as to solo developers. And to echo Ben's point, it's not clear what the ultimate demands of kind of resource demands of AGI would be, but what is clear is that harmonizing well with both our own investments, so the SingularityNET investments and the fetch.ai investments, as well as your tech stack, certainly puts in a leading position where we can both offer a unified tech stack and use a unified tech stack and actually have a USP, which is in a sense knowledge graphs combined with LLMs, combined with agents, which just spearhead developers' ability to kind of make these task-oriented applications wherein models actually execute work, as opposed to just giving you language in, language out. I'd love to kind of pause the kind of strategic and theoretical discussion here and shed some practical benefits to the broader ASI communities, and the Kudos community should expect a governance proposal. Now, that governance proposal would be about 5 days, and depending on the results of that proposal, you'd have either the approved token merger or something else. I'd love to kind of caution everyone to not rush into it. There are no airdrops, there are no stake drops, there are no bonus giveaways. And if you are passionate and interested about what we're doing, you should follow us on our official accounts. If you're trying to get in social media channels such as Reddit or Telegram or Discord, only use official websites. We're seeing an increase in scams, which is very typical in the Web3 space. So I urge everyone to be diligent and to only use official sources of truth, which is the artificial superintelligence Twitter account, the fetch.ai, SingularityNET, Kudos, and Ocean Twitter accounts, as well as our respective official websites. So thank you, gentlemen. There's been a lot of community-based questions, all of which are very practical. For example, Humayun, I'd love to ask you, how did we reach the token ratio? So how did we come up with the 119 to 1 Kudos token ratio?
Yeah, so sorry, it's 119 kudos to 1 FET or ASI.
Yes.
I mean, I think for people who have followed us before, they would already know the way we came to the ratios was taking the FDVs, the fully diluted values of the project, and averaging it over, let's say, 30 days, or I don't know exactly what the time scale we used here. I think it's 30 days or something, and then we averaged that so that that we can actually have a decent representation, and then we convert that into a ratio. So we did something very similar here. We do have to apply some discounts because of the liquidity that is available or not. In this case, it's nothing major, and so that's how we came up with it. Now, it is quite important to note that you know, we wanted all the communities to be kind of taken care of. In Kudos's case, I think people who are observing the token prices would note that, you know, when we did the conversion to where we are, it's going to fluctuate. It will go up and down, but that's you know, in the scheme of things, it's not going to make any major difference in the ratios. And also, it kind of it is what it is. I mean, we can't control the price every day. We don't, you know, we can't change the ratio every day, but otherwise there will be no stability. So that's how we came up with the ratios.
Thank you very much. It does. It most certainly does. And to any community members that are interested in understanding more, feel free to drop us a message across our official channels. So Twitter, Telegram, Discord, you name it. An admin or moderator or an ambassador would gladly provide kind of a question to all of your answers, an answer to all of your questions. My apologies. It seems to me that we're almost approaching an hour, and I'm a bit mindful of your time, gentlemen. Would you like to open the floor to an AMA type of format for about 15 to 20 minutes?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you very much. Greg, if anyone would love to ask a question, now would be a great time. So gentlemen and listeners, if you're interested in asking either Humayun, Matt, or Ben a question, feel free to raise your hand. We'd gladly select 5 to 10 questions from the community.
Well, while we wait, I think one question which I've received several times now, which I would like to kind of deal with straight off, is well, actually, there's 2 questions. One is, you know, you're actually not creating value here; you're diluting value. I want to take that question head on. I mean,
Perfect.
Hopefully we explained you enough why we feel there is a value creation, and you know, we are creating value here. So if I look at ASI, yes, you have to issue new tokens to merge the incoming project. But if you really, and I think I kind of alluded to some of the numbers, but I don't, you know, I want to be very clear here. So if you look at what the FDVs are in comparison to what the FDVs could be of these projects, if given the right kind of ecosystem to flourish in, that's additional value. And this is from ASI's point of view. And then if you look at from Kudos's point of view, you would see that, you know, getting the right community behind it, getting the right customers, getting the right utility integrated into the stack adds value. So where the token holders of Kudos were looking to create more value out of the token, this would enable them to do that. And you know, this is the right time. I mean, as we know in crypto, we can never predict the price. We can never tell you what's coming, or we can't, we don't do that price prediction. But the value creation, we can tell you this is happening here right now. And I think with the last merge we did with the three of us, you saw where we started from and where we are ending. I mean, our kind of market caps and getting into the top, 30 projects, where our trading volumes have quadrupled in the last, couple of months. All of these things are adding value to this alliance, and that's what really we are about. We are about here to add value, to unlock the potential of decentralized technology and build this decentralized AGI, ASI dream that we started with.
I largely agree. I'd also like to echo your point by saying that as opposed to people seeking exposure to 4 projects, they can simply find exposure to one, which is much greater united than the sum of its parts separated. And so in that context, as the token utility rises, so does the prospect that technology would be kind of integrated more and more into society. Right, and so kind of there's a little bit of a balance between token utility and adoption, which we can perhaps explore in a different spaces session. I'll pause here. Greg, are there quite a lot of questions or barely any at all? We seem to kind of always oscillate between a lot of questions and none at all.
Yeah, well, I think the story is wonderfully simple here. Actually, I mean, we're building a unified tech stack for applied AI, AGI, and super intelligence, and the tech synergies here are really super obvious. And I mean, the beauty of the alliance as a structure is that we get to keep the creativity and innovation of having a number of different, small to moderate size agile organizations focused on building different parts of the stack, but we have the shared incentive of a common token, so we can move more rapidly toward a fully unified stack for AI, AGI, and ASI. I mean, as Humayun says, of course, we're embedded in the crypto markets, which are what they are, and we're working with that in terms of working out the precise ratios and the tokenomics of the token merger. But we're at the early stages of what's going to be an incredible nexus of value creation, because as we put these tools together, I mean, we're going to be creating, according to our plan, much more powerful AI than anybody else on the planet, right? And so the details of the tokenomic merger need to be done right, and they are being done right. But I mean, the main point is the technology integration we're doing, which is going to allow like incredible multiplication of value over the next few years as we use it to build AGI that then builds ASI.
That's actually a perfect summary. A nexus of innovation unified by a common token, building towards much more powerful AGI than we currently have, right? Narrow AI building towards AGI, building towards ASI. Thank you, Ben. Thank you very much. And gentlemen, thank you for your time as well. Seeing as how we don't really have a sea of hands and a lot of questions, I'll pause the space session here. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure hosting this one. And based on community demand, we can certainly host a second one. Thank you all for your valuable insight into the exciting Kudos kind of potential token merger and how its kind of harmonized collaboration, cross-compute, AI, and data pillars would shape the future of decentralized AI and AGI. We look forward to seeing how these synergies drive the next generation of innovations across industries, and I'm quite certain that ASI would become an increasingly valuable pillar towards both kind of commercial, kind of consumer and enterprise interests. And I'd love to see us pushing the boundaries of what's possible in AI. And Matt, thank you for your time as well. It's been an incredible pleasure to work with you. Humayun, Ben, thank you for your time as well. If you have any closing remarks, now would be the time.
I would just say this is the AI space is the most exciting space in technology and in the market. You're seeing it already in people's lifetime, well, just in day to day. But over the next few years, it's going to revolutionize pretty much all industries, and that is what is so exciting about this collaboration.
Yeah, I'd like to just add a point about valuations here, because I have seen several comments been made on that in terms of the community, and I'm surprised nobody's asked the question here, but I'll take that head on again. If you look at the valuation, and I've heard this many times, oh, the market. If you look around in the centralized space, one piece of this tech stack is getting valued at multiples of billions. Now, we have to be realistic. However, I feel hugely ambitious, and I feel very positive that a combined tech stack like this should be way higher value than where we are today. And I have no doubt in my mind that we're going to achieve it. Look at what we're building, compare it with all the other projects, which are individual, but multiples of valuation of our size. Once we are properly executing and showcasing the applications, that will change. And that's what I'm really excited about. We will create huge value.
Thank you. Thank you, Humayun. Thank you, Matt. And thank you, everyone. This concludes our latest Spaces session. And if you have any questions, feel free to throw them our way across Telegram, Discord, Twitter, or any other social media channel. Have a great day, everyone.
All right, so that's pretty much it for the space. Looks like they've ended it there. Wow, so that was a ton to take in. Did anybody actually stick through the whole video? Like, did you guys stay for the whole live stream? Because that was a ton. I took some notes. I had to be pretty quiet because of I didn't want to talk over them, and there's a little bit of a delay when that happens. So I kind of just didn't want to talk over and make any like talking points while they were trying to communicate. So wow, that was definitely something. So what I took from that, it was a lot of, I'm going to take my earbuds out here because it's kind of throwing me off. So you guys should still be able to hear me. I'm on my my studio microphone. So yeah, so Kudos has a ton of utility that they are bringing to the table. That's pretty much what I got from this. Let's jump over. We're going to look at their website just for a brief moment here. I'm going to move myself back over here. There we go. All right. So cloud infrastructure for Web3. So they basically do things a lot cheaper, more, obviously more economical, and they're going to be able to help the ASI Alliance basically provide a full stack. So what they're really talking about that in terms of what they're bringing to the table is that they're going to be able to offer like a whole suite of things to customers, and I think that is really important. They actually went on to say, I'm just going to reference my notes here, that for some businesses, their budget for this type of service for GPU power and things like that they're going to need is sometimes between 50 and 75% of their total budget. So that cuts into a lot of funds when you're talking about development. And so Kudos is able to bring the cost down for them and allow them to basically, stretch their dollar and make it, obviously worth more going, into their development side of things. So they're also into a lot of, they said pharma and banking. So they're long-term clients. So their clients aren't necessarily ones that just pick up their services and then drop them. They're kind of done. They're more of long-term clients. So that's really cool as well. And, getting into pharma and banking, obviously, crypto's heavy into like transactions and finance. And then we have pharma, which is also a very, very large sector. not necessarily in crypto, but in, just in society in general. So they do a lot of resource management. They're able to, kind of, when you have all of your tech stuff in one area, or connected to one business, your resource management is a lot more efficient as well. You're not having to go, like, I remember getting a call center job, and this was back, I was just out of high school, and I was just trying to make my way, pay for school and stuff like that. And I remember working at a call center, and when I was getting medical calls, actually, I was taking medical calls for a company in the United States, and it was like billing and stuff like that. And you'd have to take the information that they give you, and you had like 15 different windows open, and it was like, I go here to get this, and then I go here to get this, and I go here to get this. And it was just so mismanaged and unorganized that that's actually what came to mind when they were talking about this. So things are all more central, easier for developers to kind of find the information they're looking for. And they said a lot of the other industries that they're working with is gaming and automotive. Not quite sure how automotive is coming into play. I don't know if they're doing augmentation type stuff, or if it's more of a chat bots, kind of things like that, customer service agents kind of thing. But gaming is another thing. Gaming is huge, and gaming is huge in crypto. And gaming in crypto, they're more likely to use decentralized services as well. And where the fact that sometimes crypto gaming doesn't have those massive budgets like other productions studios do, and your general gaming studios, where they don't have as much funds basically to work with. This saving money on your GPU power, 50 to 75% of your budget is huge when you're talking about crypto gaming budget, like building out a game. So things like that are definitely going to be useful. And Humayun, the CEO of fetch.ai, he touched on a number of things of why they're bringing them into the alliance, is because they can offer this full stack of suite of solutions for businesses. And I think that is really, it kind of brings the whole alliance full circle, in my opinion. We have a number of different areas where they can all collaborate together and offer this one full, like you said, full stack or full suite of development tools for people to build with. So I think that's really important. I think that from what I'm seeing so far, I really like this this move. I think that they're going to be a pretty big player in the alliance, in my opinion. Anything that can basically get the cost down, increase revenue, that kind of thing, I think is a good idea. And this is just really, like I said, really rounds out the alliance. I think it's a really good addition. That's my initial thoughts. I'm also going to be doing some more research. This is just kind of a part of my research, tuning into the AMA and getting some more information under my belt so I can make more of an informed decision. But in my opinion, guys, if you're a FET holder, you're an ASI holder, I don't think that this is a bad thing whatsoever. As the Kudos side, I can see that they're worried because now they're $50 million token. Let's actually go look at that. I believe it's about 50 million. I can understand their point of view. I mean, you're going from $54 million market cap to integrating into a large token already in FET. We can see, looks like there was a bit of a sell-off there yesterday, but the price is starting to kind of come back here. It kind of is what it is, and if you're not happy with it, by all means, please use your voice and vote. Use your voting power to express your opinion. I'm not telling you guys what to do or anything like that, but it's same as politics. If you're not happy, it is you can go and vote and just kind of let them know what you think. And this is actually going to be people who are able to vote. This is it right here. So FET ASI token stakers are eligible to vote on all chains. FET ASI token holders eligible to vote on Ethereum, Cardano, BNB. On exchanges, not eligible. You're not self-custody. So that does make sense. Liquidity providers are not eligible. We also have mainnet voting, so non-custodial Cosmos wallet voting interface. And then we have the voting portal is right here. So this is in that article. It's actually shared. So you can actually vote yes, no, or abstain. So this is shared on my X page here under this article right here. I reposted it. It was on the Artificial Superintelligence Alliance site. So I would suggest always going, like they said, there's a lot of scams out there. So always go to your official sources. If you go to Artificial Superintelligence Alliance, this is them here. We can see with the orange, yellow, whatever check mark there, and it's under ASI_Alliance. So that is the official X page, and you can go down here, find the article, and then this is basically what I was just showing you. You scroll down and you will be able to find the token merger process is right here. And where'd that go? Voting process, here we go. So voting portal is right here. So that's where it will be. It is going to be available on, where is it here? Kudos. Where'd that go? Goodness. Okay. So yeah, so this is the timeline. So government's proposal, basically that came out yesterday. Then they're going to have FET on Cardano bridge. Okay, and then their vote's going to be open on the 19th. So they're going to open the vote on the 19th via that link on the Singularity DAO website. They're going to end on the 24th. And that'll basically, it's a very short window, so make sure you guys, get a chance to get in there and get your vote heard. It's your right as a holder, so please make sure you guys use it. FET prediction. It depends on what you're talking about, man. Honestly, end of year, I'm thinking between $5-7. Next year, 2025. My prediction is probably between $10-15, maybe even 20 now. I think that this is, I think I'm going to probably change my prediction because I think that this is even more bullish now than previously, in my opinion. That's just my quick opinion. Obviously, I'm going to do some more research and kind of try to figure out where I think that this is going to take us, but I'm thinking more along the lines of $20. That's just being conservative. I'm a very conservative person. Even when it comes to crypto, I'm always cautiously optimistic. So that's, that I'm not selling any more FET tokens until we at least hit double digits. I already took some profits back in March. And I know I brag about this a little bit, but it was at the top. It just so happened that was the point where I decided to take some profits because I've been holding since like the 20-cent mark. So I was just due for some profits, and I took them, diversified across some other lower cap AI coins, and I don't regret my decision. It is what it is. I wanted to make sure I booked some profits just in case, because you just never know. There could be regulations come out with AI. There could be a number of different things. We could have a extended bear market. We could have recession. We could have all kinds of things can happen. So I just wanted to make sure I booked some profits just to be responsible, right? 3% increase in supply is nothing. Can only see this as positive. I agree. Unless you're a Kudos holder, then it could be, you could have a different story there. Kudos will benefit too. I 100% agree. Risk of yep. So yeah, it makes their project more stable. They open up a wide range of different collaborations too with FET and AGIX and stuff too. So I do think it's a smart move. That's my initial thoughts, and obviously I have a little bit more work to do, but I'll obviously keep you guys in the loop. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. This was a great live stream. I know we didn't get to talk a whole lot, and I don't really want to keep you guys too much longer, but so you basically got my opinion there. I'm going to also do a follow-up video for people who don't want to watch the whole stream, and just kind of give you my thoughts on what happened there. I took some notes during the AMA, so just to make sure that I touch on a few things because they're very, very important. I think it's very important to do your research, and not everybody has the time to sit through, an hour-long AMA. You could be at work or whatever, so I'll try and summarize it for you guys, and hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next one. Is there any more questions before I am done? Just let me know. I'll try to answer them if I can. See any here in the next minute or two. I'll probably just close it out. I really appreciate you guys, supporting my channel. It's been a great ride so far, and I'm glad I'm able to share a lot of my crypto journey with you guys. It's been quite a ride, so very, very excited here. And the CEO of FET, who was speaking there, he actually followed me on X today, so I was very excited for that. So I guess they are kind of starting to see some of the creators out there that are, very dedicated to their projects. So big moves coming in the next few months. I agree. I totally agree with that. I'm very excited to see where this takes us, because this solves a lot of the problem now where computing power is so expensive. You get into GPU computing power, and now that they have a partner in the alliance, this is going to be insane, especially with the storage, data storage and things like that. It's just this is going to be full circle, like I mentioned. Do I think there's going to be a further delay in the ASI merger phase 2? No, I don't think so. I think we're almost through it. Really, the only thing they have left to do is change the ticker. I mean, that's pretty much it. And they said that they're going to do that down the road. They're probably waiting. This is not something that just popped up in the last week or so. This merger with Kudos. I think that this is something that most likely has been in the works for a little while, and I think that they're probably waiting to get as much of this done as they can before they finalize and they do that ticker change, right? Because they got a lot of things they got to work through, and that's just something else that's it is going to take a little time for this merge to go through. Like this is going to be probably month or so down the road before they get things done. Just with the voting and the giving everybody time to kind of catch up, and exchanges are going to have to come on board and all that stuff. I think that honestly, I think that really is just the ticker change is really what they got left, other than this, obviously, this now merged. So I kind of just hope that they get everything done first before they finalize it, and then we'll just basically be, it'll just under the ASI name. It's not really a big deal to me. I really don't see much downside to being called ASI. I mean, Polygon ran under Matic for a long time, so I think everybody kind of knows what FET is by now. Do I have an ASI wallet? I actually have multiple Ledger devices. I just got this new one here a couple weeks ago. This is the Stacks, Ledger Stacks. I have probably 4 or 5 different Ledger wallets. But I also, I did make a FET wallet. I'm going to look at moving my tokens over to there because they're going to have the governance voting right in the wallet, staking and all that kind of thing. So that's where I want to keep my FET tokens if I can. I like the fact that they're on the Ledger though, so I'm still kind of, I haven't pulled the trigger yet. So are they safe? Oh yeah, they're definitely safe. And your wallets are only safe as you practice safety, right? I mean, don't connect your wallets to sites that you're not aware of, that you don't know, if they're legit or not. Always, wallets are completely safe. It's just how you use them. Don't ever store your seed phrase online. Don't take pictures of it. That kind of thing. Do the old-fashioned thing. Write them down. Put them in. I have a safe, and I have a few other places that I store my. I'm not going to tell you guys where, obviously, because it'd be silly. But I have safe places that I put these, and I actually have these little metal cards that I got on Amazon, and they come with an engraving pen, and I just put my seed phrase on there. They can be in a fire, they can flood, whatever, and your seed phrase is going to be completely fine. I think I paid $30, and I got maybe half a dozen of these, and they're quite thick. They're probably like that, and they're just like a size of a card. So very safe. So yeah, don't be afraid to self-custody your crypto, as long as you're having practicing safe storage of your seed phrase and not connecting to any scam websites. You're going to be absolutely fine, and don't fall for the airdrop stuff. You're never going to have to verify your wallet by putting in your seed phrase into a website, anything like that. Anytime that you think you connect your wallet to anything and you think, hey, this doesn't look quite right, disconnect it. Just disconnect it. Just take a step back and think about what you're doing, and normally you'll make the right decision. But if anybody does need help with self-custody, I do have a Patreon where I'd be able to help you guys out one-on-one if that's something that you need. I'm not trying to plug, Patreon plug or anything like that, but there is people out there who legitimately don't know how to, use DeFi and things like that. And I'm definitely available if anybody needs any help there. So I'm going to end it on that. I just want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video or the next live stream. And have a great rest of your day. Peace.